All right, guys. Hey, I've got Status Network token here. This is a coin we have not looked at before, and it's not one to be ignored. If I take you over here to CoinGecko and look at this, we're at 62% on their metric scale, on their scoring scale, and we've got a market cap here of 126 million. So this is not one to be disregarded. We're gonna look at it against Bitcoin, and you can see here. We have a long way to go for this to start to appreciate in some value. But we're looking good. We've got all the fundamental information that we'd like to see there. So let's go take a look at this now. Of course, as an alt, we've been in a very sustained. Here I'm on a 4-hour on Bittrex, and we've been in this very long contained downtrend. Vegas wave has held it all the way, and then we first now start to see signs of life here. Possibly we're getting sort of a break here, which could be leading to potentially some sort of impulsive 5-wave structure, ideally, to give us a 1 wave before we start heading higher. So let's go look a little bit more closely on a smaller time frame. Now I'm here on the 1 hour, and we can see signs of life. So, so far, very good technically. I'll take a few things off here and recreate them here. So we can look at this, and you see I've got a count on it, but we can just always, first thing you want to do is kind of get a feel for it. Is it trading technically? Well, we're off to a good start here. Here's our little pop where we get first signs of life, retraced to the 50 and the Vegas wave exactly, and then we get this nice subdivision into a third. Well, of course we can see the breakdown there in we get a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we can see the impulse. You can look at your oscillator down here, and so the peak here would imply that that's our 3rd wave, and then we can start to measure it for signs of it. Well, we've gone to and through. If we're looking, here's the first algo target, second, third, and we've not quite gone to the negative 618. But putting some Elliott structure on it, we'd want to evaluate that first wave relative to the second wave and look for common targets. So if I go down here to my second, our likely zone, our highest probability zone for a wave 3 is right there, and that's the 1618 to the 175 window, and we got to and even through it a little bit. So good odds that we've got a 3rd wave in, and now we're trying to get completion here and finish off what would be a first impulse wave and set up for movement significantly higher. So how can we quantify this and get a sense of whether the correction is over? Well, now since we've got this marked and we feel pretty confident that we've got a 3rd wave, well, following that, I guess I can take that off. We get the nice A, we get a subdivision here into a 3-wave B. That's all perfect structure. We come down into a C, and of course we'd want to consider how the 2 and the 4 are relating. If we look there, so to the 50 goes through a little bit. So you look at that and say, okay, if that's my low, is that my 4? Is that my 4? Because all of the criteria that we'd look for is there. We have stayed above the 1. We get nice subdivision into an ABC. There, you can carve out some subdivision there, but it's not ideal. The perfect structure would give you an A and then a 3-wave B, and then we'd get a 1, 2, 3. I suppose you could get a 4, 5 out of that. It's not ideal. But here's the next tell. Coming out of that, if we're going to go up here and complete our 5th, right, and we'll just use the algo target as potential target for this first wave structure, we would want to see this movement here get impulsive. And so far, that's not what we're seeing. What we're getting is kind of a sloppy, choppy. If anything, if you had to put a pivot structure on that, that would be a 3rd wave. It's not impulsive. Now, it can still be, so right now, that cannot be a 1 wave. What we'd be looking for this 5th to complete and subdivide into a 5-wave structure. Now, if we go up and take out this high, you could probably call that a leading diagonal, which you could find in a 1 wave, the 1 of the 5th. But until we see that, right now, that just looks like a choppy B wave, which creates the possibility that what we have here is an ABC completing the A on the larger scale. So let me put the wave on there just to clarify what I'm trying to tell you. So potentially, we've just got an ABC, and we've got to finish this in this kind of a structure. Now, we'd have to be careful about overlapping the 1 here, as that would, we disqualify that count, and it might be something else. So, this would look a little better if we came higher. So looking for the retracement back the other direction. Of course, you've got to consider that. So if I go from that high to this low, we'd expect and be looking for that B wave to get at least to the 50%, and somewhere between the 50 and the 786 is the target zone. So let me take the 23 off of here, just so as not to confuse the chart. So we've held the 50 here. We know that has potential here. Unless this starts to go impulsive, if we come down and start to challenge this low, then likely we've just got a shallow B in here, and we'd be looking, adding a little geometry and some structure to it. We'd be looking for something like this to hold the A, the B, and then come down for a C. Here's an interesting zone here where you've got overlap in a confluence zone where you've got the 618, 65, and then the negative 23 all sitting there above the 1. So the height of the 3 gives us the structure here to where we can get a more substantial correction, and we can subdivide and stay above that 1 and stay in an impulsive structure. So right now, too soon to call this. This is not the kind of subdivision you'd hope to see if you were looking to call this your 4 and you were long off of that. You'd be, for me, if I were long here, and I'm not, but if I were, I'd be tightening that stop up to just a few ticks below that low on the assumption that potentially I've got to come back down here and finish this and let this resolve down here at this negative 23. Now, if we take out the high, so if you're long, you'd want to be alarmed above this pivot, because potentially now we can't disqualify the B just yet, but we would have the potential for a somewhat of a sloppy leading diagonal to carve out a 1 wave. So if we take that off, then potentially we'd have our leading diagonal here. If we get a new high, then we'd be doing something like this to complete that structure. All right, but until we take out this high and we look at it maybe on a smaller time frame here, I'm on the hourly, the higher probability would suggest that we've got to go down here, and then we would reshape this. Then we'd be looking, I'd have to pull the whole thing over. But I think you get the idea. It still plays to complete the 5th, but then we'd be looking for our next entry down here, and then we look to complete this in a 5-wave structure to get the 5 of 1. Right? Does that make sense? So too soon to, if you're not in, if you're long here because you took the 50, I'd be tight with the stop because this is unresolved and there's no clarity there. If you are looking to get in, I would wait on this, get some sense of clarity as to what you have here. And if you're looking to get a fresh long, if this breaks this low and we head down here, that would be a place to get into a fresh long. And that's just the kind of trade that I like to see because I can see my stop. I invalidate the count close by. So I can be long there knowing that I've got good upside here. And I've got tight risk control. So if I go just to the other side of the 1, allowing for maybe a nasty wick that's a stop run, we can allow for a little bit of that and still maintain, but there's 7 to 1, and that's just first target. Right? So, and if that's the case, nothing says we have to stop there, but we know that's the algo target. If we go up to the higher target, now we're at 10 to 1. So, but first target would be here. Then you'd be expecting, if that's going to complete the 1 wave, then you'd be looking for a complete retracement of the entire thing. If you complete the 5, then you look for that retracement to come back down to the 50 for the second wave. Because if we're going to start to move here and get out of this long downtrend that we've been in, we're just getting started. So lots of upside here, but of course a lot of things have to go right. But just, one to keep on your radar. Looks like it's moving technically, so just thought I'd point that one out. Okay, that's it for now.